Hello, everybody. Welcome to a webinar today, joined by Vultr and Zeet. Zeet is one of our latest Cloud Alliance members, part of the Vultr Cloud Alliance. Today, we're going to be specifically talking about running the cloud your way, specifically also how to simplify cloud deployments when it is very complex in nature. I am joined here today by Johnny. Johnny, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah. Thank you, DJ. Great to be here. Excited to chat with you all. I'm Johnny Dallas. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Zeet. We bring developer experience to your cloud. Today we're going to be talking about how you can use Zeet and Vultr together to get the best possible cloud experience and simplify those deployments as much as you can. It's like dig into it with you.
And I am DJ. I am Vultr's head of product marketing. I work very closely with a lot of our partners here, as well as I run all of the go-to-market activities here at Vultr for all of our products. So I'm super excited today to kind of talk to you about, where this partnership goes and how Vultr and Zeet can help you out. Before we jump into things, just a really quick agenda. We are going to talk about the Cloud Alliance and what that kind of means. We're going to talk about Vultr and give you just a brief run through of kind of our products and services. Same as Zeet, they will give you a brief run through of everything. And then we will talk a little bit in depth about streamlining your processes, optimizing deployments and costs, and also touching on kind of just the global footprint we have. We'll wrap up and we will look at a really quick demo recorded by Jack from the Zeet team, just to kind of show you the overall user experience. And then we'll give you a little insight onto what all this actually costs. So the Cloud Alliance is a membership that Vultr put together that brings the best of breed services and infrastructure together. We realize that we are an infrastructure company and we can offer you a lot of the hardware that you need to deploy across the world, but we've partnered with plenty of other companies out there that can expand your solutions and ultimately make your life easier at the end of the day. For instance, we've partnered with Backblaze. They do storage as a service with on-demand blocks, with on-demand object storage. We've also partnered recently with Domino Data Lab on AI and ML initiatives running on Vultr Cloud GPU, and as well as a bunch of others. And today we'll be talking with Zeet. Zeet is a service that allows you to manage and deploy your infrastructure, code, and apps all from one unified dashboard. So a little bit about Vultr. We are the world's largest independent, privately held cloud platform. We have 32 locations around the world. And if you're watching this 6 months from now, a year from now, we probably added a whole bunch more locations. We're always getting into new regions and looking to enable developers no matter where you're at around the world. We really focus on providing a service that is easy to use, but also very high performance. And we also don't want to break the bank. We don't want to have surprise billing. So we have a very structured and affordable billing system that is very predictable. In total to date, we've worked with over 1.5 million customers around the globe. And those customers are actively deploying about 3 million new instances a month right now. And a lot of those customers choose Vultr for a number of reasons. One is that we're 100% bootstrapped. We started this company fully product-led, and in a lot of ways, we're still very product-led. We spend a lot of time and energy and focus on improving our products and making sure that they really dive into the issues that our customers are facing on a day-to-day basis. We offer the full range of cloud compute options, whether you need simple shared infrastructure just to host a basic website, or you need something that can support a new social media platform on a global scale. We have the compute power, the storage power, the networking power, everything you need to make sure that it runs seamlessly. And more recently, we've adopted a top-of-the-line NVIDIA GPU infrastructure to support the latest AI and ML initiatives. And we allow GPU to be deployed in fractions or full cards or multi-card clusters across our virtualized cloud compute, our bare metal, or even Vultr Kubernetes engine. We are MOC compliant, and that means that we are a API first infrastructure. We want to make it super easy for you to integrate into the services you've already been using and get up and running without needing to jump into the dashboard more than you would normally have to. This also makes managed service provider accounts very easy when you can just use our API code to deploy everything you need. Again, we have transparent, predictable, and affordable pricing. And you'll see that more towards the end of this when we really dive into what that means and what that looks like compared to some of the other key players in the industry. We're also big believers in a multi-cloud strategy. And this is where Zeet and some of our other partners come into play, where we love to work with you to either help you reach new customers and new locations that you never could before, or maybe you just want to have data redundancy, or maybe even there's data residency requirements where we have a data center in a region where you might not be able to deploy otherwise. And one of the last things, we really have personalized onboarding and ongoing support. It's a white glove service. So when you have an issue or you're trying to spin up a new project, reach out to us and we will work with you hand in hand to make sure that you're getting the services that you need and you have the understanding of how to use certain products in our ecosystem. So some of our core products I've already mentioned, so I won't go too in depth with these. We have cloud compute instances. These are virtualized instances that are either on shared infrastructure or dedicated compute infrastructure. These can be optimized for many different purposes, whether you need something that is specialized for like WordPress when we have high frequency compute, or you have SaaS applications that really demand the most power and performance. That's where you can jump into some of our optimized offerings for memory, or memory priority or storage priority, whichever you prefer. I mentioned cloud GPU. This is where we have all of our cloud compute options can be GPU accelerated, as well as our bare metal can be GPU accelerated. Bare metal is one area that stands us out amongst a lot of the other players in the industry. We offer you the ability to have full dedicated access to the hardware. And there's no virtualization layer. You have access all the way down to the BIOS. So you can really tailor the server to what you need to do. We also have cloud storage, whether it's block or object storage that is S3 compatible, that can attach to any of our compute instances. And we connect everything together through enterprise-grade networking, where we can do direct connect instances for multi-cloud purposes, utilizing some of our partners such as Console Connect for direct connect fabric. We also have lower bandwidth costs as part of our network, and I'll touch on that a little bit later. And lastly, we have two managed services. We have managed Kubernetes, or Vultr Kubernetes engine, as you might hear it sometimes. This is a fully managed Kubernetes cluster that can scale almost infinitely in the amount of nodes you need. And we provide a free control plane for all of that. So you pay for just the instance, the underlying nodes. No need to pay for a control plane. And last year, we announced Vultr managed databases. We support MySQL, PostgreSQL, and Redis. So all of these databases are completely available to you and can be easily attached to any product in our category and allow you to just go ahead and store data without needing to configure any redundancy, configure backups. You don't need to worry about scaling. It'll do it all for you. And now that was a lot of info about me. I'd love to kick it over to Johnny, and he will give you kind of the same overview with Zeet.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, so with so many great products available from Vultr and the broader cloud native ecosystem, it can be very difficult to figure out, how do I use all of these offerings? How do I maximize my usage of them? How do I make sure that my developers, my end users, my engineers, the edge, are actually able to utilize these? That's where we come in. What we've built with Zeet is we've built a developer platform that sits atop your cloud and lets you build the platform as a service experience that you might look for your development teams. We've seen that with the rising complexity of cloud native and the number of incredible offerings that clouds are coming out with these days, it can be difficult for growing enterprises to figure out, how can I get my devs the ability to use these cloud native tools without having to become DevOps or SRE engineers? So today we serve about 50,000 developers across more than 3,000 cloud accounts, helping them configure and build the developer platform that they want. As opposed to your cloud provider may provide a simple dashboard that may not be quite as flexible or may not be purpose-built for you. Zeet provides a dashboard interface and API layer that allows you to customize it however you want to maximize the operations that you care about, your company cares about, and give your devs kind of the information that they care about. I think EJ mentioned a couple of the different products that Vultr has here, and similarly from the Zeet side of things, we have integrated with all of the different products that we have here in Vultr. So the Vultr Kubernetes engine is one that we've built great for first-class integration with. You can sign up for Vultr, import your API key into Zeet, and we will be able to provision Vultr Kubernetes instances for you, provision pods on them, deploy multi-cluster, multi-region workloads anywhere need be. Additionally, with Vultr's GPU provider, we just can help support GPU workloads or high-performance compute workloads anywhere you want through a single unified interface. So all your devs need to do is say, I have a new GitHub repo, I want to run a service off of this, and I need this GPU. And we'll figure out all of the underlying configuration to help you utilize most of your cloud provider. In terms of some of the benefits that we see with teams, or I'm happy to tell you all about the product, but this is actually what customers say about us, some of the outcomes that they get with Zeet. We typically see teams will be able to use far more clusters, far more clouds, and far more cloud native tooling with fewer devs. So one customer of ours, LiveKit, finds that they can manage 15 different production Kubernetes clusters per SRE, which is well above industry average. We also see that separate from the kind of SRE or DevOps teams, development application developer teams benefit greatly from having the increased efficiency of a developer platform in place. One customer of ours, Leap, saw a 900% increase in deployments per engineer week over week. This is pretty huge for especially these early teams that really need to utilize the cloud offerings available to them. Really just need to focus on iteration, build your product. Don't get mucked up in the details of how to run and utilize this infrastructure. They're able to get far more done far faster. LiveKit, another kind of data point here is by virtue of having all of your cloud infrastructure in one place, Zeet is a multi-cloud platform, and therefore we can connect to any infrastructure offerings that you have anywhere. You're able to much more easily onboard new engineers. LiveKit found that from hiring a new engineer and signing that first day paperwork to first production deploy, they were able to reduce their time down to only 3 days, and they're deploying to over a dozen different cloud providers. This also enables a pretty insane amount of scale. So I think one customer of our Circle Labs is able to do over 173,000 deploys per week, fully through our API. Almost every cloud provider has a managed control plane at this point, or some API layer, which are great, but especially in a multi-cloud environment, when you're really looking to utilize the most of each of cloud, you need some higher level abstraction that can delegate to these different APIs and handle any translation, as every cloud API is a little bit different. So by hitting our API, we can enable you to more effectively use Vultr's API and any other cloud's API, as you can see here. And lastly, I've mentioned multi-cloud a couple of times here. We believe strongly in the multi-cloud strategy as well. I think Vultr has been a great partner in that so far for us. We see almost every Zeet customer, about actually 53% of Zeet customers use multi-cloud, most of them on day one. I think this really reflects just the changing environment that we're in, of more and more cloud providers, more and more niche specialized compute, and the need for more community-based approach. We are really excited to be a part of the Cloud Native Alliance here that Vultr is putting together. By virtue of, we need to have more tooling that's cloud agnostic. We need to have more players who are pushing for multi-cloud. To bring it all kind of to one place and to really drive home what are the specific things that our users are doing to achieve some of the outcomes we saw in the previous slide, it boils down to 3 different places. One, we believe strongly that you should control your infrastructure. You should have full visibility, you should have full transparency, no matter where that is. And so while Zeet is a developer experience layer that sits above your clouds and makes all of your cloud operations simplified by virtue of going through our platform, we believe strongly that everything that's going on needs to be visible to you. That's why when you use a cloud provider with Zeet, you actually go and sign up for the cloud provider independently and bring that account into Zeet. We do not provide any hosting. We leverage partners like Vultr to do the hard work of hosting for us. We believe strongly that a good dashboard is incredibly important to achieving some of the outcomes that we saw in the previous slide. You'll see today the ideal developer experience is to have a platform that is handling all the DevOps for an application developer. That gets very complex to manage. And so we've built a very versatile dashboard system. It allows you to get a all-in-one experience on day one. But as you grow in both complexity and maturity, you can customize it to get more and more your own, make sure that you're not losing out on any important capabilities. And lastly, we've mentioned multi-cloud, but really when we talk about multi-cloud, one piece here is every cloud provider is different. But even within a given cloud provider, every technology is a little bit different. And so a really important piece here is having this translation layer that can take an application definition and translate it into GPUs, into high performance compute, to Kubernetes workloads, and understand what you're looking for and translate that into the best cloud offering for your use case. And Vultr has been the partner to choose for all of this. This has been great to work with Vultr and our shared customers of supporting devs, DevOps. We work with quite a few startups and then growing enterprises now who are looking to take more control of their cloud and leverage some of the new innovations.
And that was a great overview of Zeet and even Vultr, just to see how everything kind of starts to fit together. To make it even more obvious that this partnership, it really helps you reduce time to deploy, to scale with confidence. There's just a couple of areas that we just want to really highlight that you've probably heard already throughout this, but with Vultr and Zeet, not only are you simplifying your cloud deployments, you're bringing everything together. There's one place you go to just kind of deploy on any cloud, not just Vultr. It makes it super simple to get up and running very quickly. You don't need to understand all of the different technologies that go into all the different clouds. Zeet manages it right for you. And when all of that gets simplified and you're brought into one area, that ultimately helps you reduce your cloud spend. You may realize that some smaller workloads can be hosted on Vultr rather than on AWS. And that in turn just brings your overall cloud spend all the way down. And then two, Vultr is constantly growing. And as we grow, Zeet is able to pick up on all those new locations and allow you access very quickly to reach customers that you may not have been able to reach before. Or if you were reaching them, we just reduced your latency in those areas. So to kind of see all of this in action, Jack from the Zeet team has put together a wonderful kind of user experience walkthrough that we will take a look at right now.
I'm going to quickly show you how to connect to and deploy something to a Vultr cloud. The first step here would be to, starting at your homepage, you can see this menu on the left. I can click cloud, or I can go to this new dropdown and click cloud here. And what that'll do is take me to a page where I can connect to my Vultr cloud. I'll scroll down to the Vultr option here, name my Vultr cloud. So this will be the name of the cloud connection. I'm not changing anything on the Vultr side of things. This is just how you can sort of identify this cloud in your Zeet dashboard. I'll provide an API key. You can get this from your Vultr dashboard. We have documentation if you wanted to learn how to do that. I won't go into that too much right here, but you can see that here. From here, I click connect, and what you'll see is now Vultr's in my clouds menu. You'll see it's connected. If it's not connected, you need to spend some time doing the steps. If you're having trouble still, you can actually talk to our support team. But assuming that all goes well, from here, you can now deploy a project to this cloud. So what I'll do is I'll click projects. Projects are kind of anything, whether it be an application, a database, a service, kind of you name it. And if it's deployable, chances are you can deploy it with Zeet. We have a ton of options here. If something in this list, or rather, if you're looking for something that's not in that list, you can actually create a custom blueprint that lets you deploy that thing, whether it be infrastructure as code or something else. You can configure your own kind of custom blueprint. But for this sort of demo, I think I'll deploy a database. That's usually pretty straightforward. If you're using different clouds, there's different options here. For us, clusters are pretty ubiquitous across clouds. So what I'll do is I'll do a Kubernetes database. This is a Postgres database living on Kubernetes in a Kubernetes cluster on this Vultr cloud. If I didn't have a cluster here, I could easily create one through the Zeet UI. This would actually say create a cluster. I've already done that as well, just for the sake of brevity. I'll kind of speed through this. So this is a cluster that lives in that Vultr cloud. I'm just going to hit continue, look through these inputs. These all look good to me. Faint grape, great name for a database. I'll hit continue, and depending if I had like a staging or a dev environment, I could deploy there. I'm going to go straight to production, and I'm just going to hit deploy. So from here, it'll kind of run through the classic steps. So it'll plan. Once the plan is done, I'll click approve. You don't always have to do this. Sometimes it'll just deploy. It'll say deploy. In this case, it looks like I do need to plan and then approve that plan. So I kind of know what's going on here. So what I'm going to do is just approve the plan. Once that's done, it'll apply it, and then it'll begin deploying. So this is all in progress. I think in total, this is going to take maybe 30 seconds to a minute. Now the apply is done, and now if I look here, Swift Mango is deployed. It's a usable database. I can connect to it in the same way I'd connect to any database. It lives in my Vultr cloud, in my cluster. Zeet fully manages all of that. And very easy to do. And if you're deploying something maybe more complicated than a database, the steps remain the same. Thanks for watching this one. Hopefully that kind of shed some light on how easy it is to use Zeet and Vultr together.
And wonderful. That was an awesome user experience. I think it really shows the simplicity of the overall solution and how you can get up and running very, very quickly. But at this point, you're probably asking, how much does all this cost? And surprisingly, it's very minimal compared to what you may be used to. Right now, we're kind of looking at a comparison among very similar virtual machines deployed on different clouds, also with Zeet managing them. So with Vultr, if you look at kind of our configuration compared to DigitalOcean or AWS, you're already saving money. You're saving upwards of 20% on DigitalOcean, and that's just because of their recent price increases. But when you look at AWS, you're saving almost 50%. And that's mainly due to storage and bandwidth not being included on an AWS package. If you use 7 terabytes of bandwidth on AWS, you're paying for 7 terabytes of bandwidth. With Vultr, we give you that 7 terabytes of bandwidth up front. It's already included in your $240 a month price, We also give you your storage in that price, and you can definitely expand these and use more if you need to. But that is fixed. The moment you start going over in bandwidth, we then will start charging a 0.01 cent per gigabyte of overage. And 1 cent in overage is unheard of across many cloud providers. AWS will likely charge you upwards of 9 cents per gigabyte in bandwidth fees for a lot of their areas. So even when you start going over, if you're a media and entertainment company serving a lot of bandwidth, Vultr still saves you a ton of money. And Johnny, I would like to ask you to kind of talk a little bit about Zeet's pricing. We see that it's very simple, but kind of give us the breakdown.
Yeah, happy to. So as you can see here, we have a very, very simple pricing in Zeet. We actually have a free tier, and so we're entirely free to get started. You can get started on our free plan, and you have 3 projects included for free. Projects is the main thing that we price off of, and our project price, if you were to go outside of the bands of our free tier, would start at $39 a month. This is very simple, very transparent, and scales linearly. If you have 2 projects, it's going to be 2 times 39, 3 times 39, and so on. But actually, we see that just to get started, if you have, say, a web service, an API service, or an AI service looking to use something like Vultr's GPUs, that can really be contained in only one project. And so typically see $39 as the entry price. And as you can see, with Vultr and how cheap that compute can be, the Zeet price layer on top, you still well below anything else you get from other cloud providers. End of the day, we are all about transparency and making sure that you understand what's going on in your cloud. And so our pricing has to be just as transparent.
Yeah, transparency is the name of the game. Predictable billing is the name of the game. Time and time again, I've heard of AWS customers waking up and their bill is 10 times what they normally spend, and they don't know why. With Vultr and Zeet, you're not going to experience that. If you plan on paying $279 a month, that's what you're paying, unless you have overages. But even your overages are going to be transparent. You're going to know exactly what you're spending. And with that, I just want to thank everybody for taking time out of their day to kind of watch this and listen to Johnny and I talk about the 2 products that we love dearly. It has been a wonderful experience working with Zeet over the past few months to put together all of these assets. So Johnny, thank you very much. And I look forward to working with you in the future and talking to everybody who's been watching this today. If anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to us on our websites, and we'll be in touch.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. And it's been a pleasure putting this together with you, DJ. So we're going to do a lot more together.